Good evening, welcome to my channel. I have another story for you today. This one's not based on random words, but like a similar story a while back. What did I call that one again? Wild Garlic. It's actually written for a competition that's been submitted now and is available on their website, so I believe it's okay to share it here, but if they find out, they find out. If they disqualify me, they disqualify me. Really don't care at this point. I don't know. I'm not sure I am a competition person, because I'll tell you why, and maybe I'll devote an episode to this. You're effectively making your chances of having that story featured significantly less than were you to send it to several magazines. And unless you win a large sum of money, get a deal with an agent, or otherwise noticed and advanced, I'm not sure that much can be achieved. But anyway, people seem to enjoy it. It inspires them to write. So there's no hard luck in that. I mean, every year on this particular competition, about 4,000 to 5,000 people enter. So there you go, run the numbers. Anyway, I was given a location, which was a pizzeria, genre, science fiction, and an object, a feeding tube. So with this unusual combination of things, I came up with the following story, which I have called Trouble at the Zero G. And it's upside down. There we go. If you've never been to Zero G Pizza, you've never lived. It's one of 3 restaurants left in the hub, diagonally opposite the hydroponics lab. This means the place is full of geeks discussing enzymes and photosynthesis, but it's still a hoot. Most of us spinners have become so used to life in the curved land's comfort that we forget what life was like before Hawking 1 was set into motion, geostationary above Los Angeles, spinning like a coin in the velvet night sky, to the few remaining smoggies down below. We've become comfortable and complacent as the sun rises and falls over our wheel-shaped world. We sleepwalk through our days pretending centrifugal force is gravity. At the hub, that illusion is rudely ripped asunder. You leave the shuttle, attach your carabiner to the slideway and float off, with little puffs from your air boots to assist your progress. I'm with my demi-human friend Alex Plus and one of my experimental fleshoids, Jules 2, neither of whom have been here before. We unclick our carabiners outside Zero G, and Alex Plus gives one of those strange whistles his tube-shaped tongue permits. It sounds like a coyote playing the oboe. "Man, what a constellation of freaks," he says. Odd words for a guy with a third eye, I can't help but think. Alex has a cynical sense of humour, which helps break the ice with a few normies who've never met a genetically modified demi-human. A constellation is the collective noun for a group of stars. It is not... Jules' almost entirely convincing voice pipes up. She doesn't yet understand metaphor. I have to shush her. Until a few years ago, we could have claimed that she was on the spectrum. However, the gene-splicers have now eradicated that aberration, although there's a growing movement to reinstate it as a demi-choice. "Stay cool, guys. Neither of you are supposed to be here," I remind my friends. 2 months ago, Alex got in a fight with an anti-genist in a nearby bar, and he was barred from the hub's hostelries and eateries. That said, 2 months ago, Alex wasn't covered in pale green scales. He didn't have a prehensile tail either. Alex is now using that appendage to steal drinks from the robo-servers gliding by. Unfazed, a robo-server apologizes for spilling a drink and returns to its base to replenish. Trust Alex to spot a loophole in their programming. "Hey, slow down with the margaritas," I hiss. "Let's grab a pod." The pizzeria is shaped like a cube with rounded off corners. Since the gravity here is merely 0.5% of what it would be on Earth, it's not absolute zero, you can launch yourself into the air and grab one of the oval pods suspended at its centre. They're translucently striped, the opaque sections padded with seating that folds itself around you. The rest is made from plexiglass, imbued with light-emitting particles to create whatever ambience you prefer. We use our air boots to jet off the ground and drift over to a vacant pod whose door slides open as we approach. Moments later, we're ensconced in our foamy cushioned seats, sipping drinks through feed tubes and launching olives across the space into one another's mouths. We fight over the menu and order using the interactive table. Nachos, obvs, Alex opines. You're kidding, I respond. Have you seen the mess those things make in 0G? 0.5 actually, Jules points out, as I knew she would. I know, I reply. I was rounding down. In the end, Alex and I order pizzas. Jules is content to try some minestrone, which we'll attach to her feeding tube covertly. Since all drinks are taken from pouches through flexible straws, it ought to be possible to hide the fact that Jules only has a rudimentary throat and alimentary system, and is usually fueled with liquid nutrients administered with a funnel. Although, as far as we can determine, Jules does have a basic sense of shame, being fed in this way doesn't embarrass her. We're still learning about the AI scintillating within the new generation fleshoids, particularly when we expose them to a riot of new stimuli by smuggling them illegally into pizzerias. When a female waiter drifts over dressed in a parody of a 1950s diner uniform, Alex and I receive our pizzas, toppings glued down with lashings of congealed cheese, in the time-honoured fashion in 0G, frisbeed onto our waiting trays. It's part of the shtick. My pepperoni pie slides in slow-mo like the planet below us, a lone strand of mozzarella extending outwards like an umbilical. As I catch it, the strand lashes Jules' left eye, and for a split second, she glitches. That's... ouch! Jules squeals, plucking the cheese away. The waiter's eyes narrow. She's twigged. She has the decency not to say anything and bids us bon appetit, but a moment later she's talking to a colleague, and a party of roughnecks nearby is listening in. They all launch from their cradles in unison, a hiss of air boots, and they're gliding towards us. Roughnecks hate fleshoids, considering them an unholy abomination. There's the little squirmer. She's almost pretty, one of them says, trying to prise open our pod door whilst Alex's tail holds it fast. Jules lets out a sigh freighted with long-suffering yet brilliantly new pain. A pinpoint laser emerges from her forefinger. She begins to cut a hole in the far wall of the pod. Meanwhile, I brace myself for the inevitable. Fucking squirmer. Let's mess her up, boys. The pod door slides open as a perfect circle of plexiglass pops out of the pod's rear wall, spinning gracefully away. Jules is first out, while I stand my ground, blocking the roughneck's view with Alex. Alex will soon test his newly purchased claws, and I'll learn something new this evening. I'll discover how loudly a roughneck can scream as a scalding hot pizza wraps itself languidly around his face. And there you go. Only 1,000 words to achieve that. Quite tough, because you've got to do a lot of world building and explanatory stuff about, fleshoids and demi-humans and all sorts of other things I've invented or borrowed or altered from pre-existing works. But anyway, maybe they'll be impressed, maybe they won't, who knows. I will let you know how it goes. But if you want to check out my other story, which didn't make the top 15 in my group, sadly, Wild Garlic is the other story which I did for this competition. And this one I think will fare a little better, and I'll be back with something else very soon. Oh, before I go, hit the subscribe button, because I know that about 80% of you are not subscribers, and that's just not on. It won't do any harm, and it will do a lot of good for me. So it's there somewhere. Click it. Bye.